We never ready for goodbye, but some spirit too bright for stay. So we now say farewell. We say walk good, walk proud, walk free, until we meet again. Me look on your chair and me still see your smile. Me swear me hear your laugh, though it been a while. Your spirit echo like a hymn in a breeze, and me heart beat slow like now you're bingy with ease. All who know you know the type of heart you bring. You never chase crown, but you live like king. Me can't question why you take you home. Me just whisper thanks, though me feel alone. Walk good, me dear one, walk good. Fly high where the lion them stood. No more pain, no more fight, just pure peace, just your light. Though me eye full of tears like flood, me bless your name in flesh and blood. So me cry but me overstand. Walk good till we meet in Jalan.
Change of plan. I had this topic on my list for much later on in my video library, but as things don't always go according to plan, we need to address this now. Last week, a young Jamaican man passed away here in Kenya. I didn't know him personally, but his death has sparked a conversation that needs to be had, not just amongst Jamaicans living in Kenya, but amongst everyone in the diaspora. Right now, there's a fundraiser circulating, 5,000 sterling pounds. That's approximately 6,700 US dollars. The goal? To fly his body back to Jamaica for burial. And I need to be very clear about something before we go any further. I have nothing but respect for the deceased. Rest in peace. And my heart goes out to his family and his friends who are grieving. But the situation has exposed something that we don't talk about enough. Something uncomfortable, something necessary. What happens when you die in the diaspora? Who's responsible? What do Jamaicans expect? What do Kenyans expect? And why are we asking strangers on the internet to pay for a decision that should have been made before someone relocated? Today, we're going to talk about death. We're talking about culture. We're talking about personal responsibility. This is Jamaican in Kenya. Let's dive in. Let me be clear. I don't know what happened to this young man. What has happened is that a Jamaican man living in Kenya has passed away. The details of his passing are not public, and I'm not here to speculate. What matters is what happens next. Someone has taken it upon themselves to advertise a fundraiser. The goal is to raise 5,000 sterling pounds to fly his body back to Jamaica for burial. Now, 5,000 pounds, that's a lot of money for most. And to some, a drop in the bucket. Regardless, I choose to look at it this way. If that money was not set aside from day one or paid for by way of insurance, then it is not the place of expectation. What do I mean by that? Here's the reality about repatriating a body internationally. It is expensive. The issue is this. Why is the diasporan community being asked to cover a cost that should have been planned for? And before anyone says I am being insensitive, I am not. I am being honest. If this man wanted to be buried in Jamaica, that's his right. That's his wish. I respect that. But if he didn't put systems in place to make that happen, by insurance, savings, a repatriation insurance plan, then that wish becomes a burden. And that burden is now being placed on strangers. I've seen the post, help us bring him home. Donate if you can. Every little bit helps. And yes, community support is beautiful. Jamaicans take care of their own. Kenyans do the same. But here's my question. At what point do we stop normalizing poor planning and start holding people accountable for making poor decisions? Because this isn't the first time that this has happened, and it won't be the last. So let's talk about it. In Jamaican culture, death is not just the end of life. It is a community event. We have something called Nine Night. Nine night is when the community gathers for 9 nights following when someone passes. There's storytelling, normally prayers, worship, singing, sessions. It's a celebration of life, but it's also a way to ensure that the spirit is at peace. The 9-night wait, also known as setup or dedyard, is a Caribbean funeral tradition, particularly prevalent in Jamaica, and it lasts for 9 consecutive nights following the person's death. Rooted in West African Akan culture and brought to the Caribbeans by enslaved Africans, the ritual helps the spirit of the deceased, called the duppy, to transition into the afterlife, as it is believed that the spirit lingers in the home for 9 nights and must be properly sent off to avoid bringing misfortune to the family. So again, during these nights, families and friends gather to share stories, memories, food, and drinks, creating a blend of mourning and celebrations filled with hymns and traditional songs. Lighting lamps or candles each night helps to guide the spirit on the journey, with the 9th night marking the spirit's final departure. But nowadays, the 9-night tradition is secondary to that of the final wake, which is the night before the burial. That is considered the celebration of life event. There's food, there's music, the drinks, and the band. Yes, in Jamaica, it is now commonplace to have a DJ crew or a band, especially the night before the funeral. So yeah, it can get a tad bit expensive. To get a deeper understanding, I will add a link to a video in the description below for those who want to dive in further. For many Jamaicans, being buried in Jamaica is non-negotiable. It doesn't matter where you live. It doesn't matter where you die. They want to return home. There's this deep-rooted belief that your final resting place should be where your roots are, where your family is, where your ancestors are. And for Jamaicans in the diaspora, whether you're in the UK, the US, Canada, or Kenya, that expectation doesn't change. You're expected to go home. But here's the problem. That expectation costs money. A lot of money. Now, I'm not saying that this happens all the time. There are a lot of Jamaicans and people from the Caribbean who don't repatriate home after passing. But there are select individuals that still have that custom fundamental belief that they want to return to Jamaica, and some who have not planned for such cost. Now let's talk about how Kenyans handle that. And the first thing you need to understand is this. Kenya is not one culture. It's 48 tribes. I know I said 44 on my last video, but I was corrected, and I want to acknowledge that. And each tribe has its own customs, rituals, and expectations around death. But there are some common threads. In most Kenyan cultures, when someone dies, they're buried on ancestral land, not in a public cemetery, unless they're in the city and they do not want to go or cannot go back to their ancestral lands. They want to be buried on family land, in the village where their people are from. For many Kenyans, especially those who have relocated to Nairobi from the country, from the village, or abroad, there's an understanding. When I die, take me home. Home is the village, the shags, the place where their ancestors are buried. And for context, the village, the shags, is like saying, home in the country where I'm from. Mwamberia country. You understand? In Kenyan tradition, there's something called a harambee. It's a community fundraiser where when someone dies, the community comes together, literally comes together and contribute money to cover the funeral cost, transportation, food, and everything else. It is not a GoFundMe. It's not social media. It's a face-to-face where people show up, people give what they can, and together they ensure that the person receives a dignified send-off. Now, here's where it gets interesting. In Kenyan culture, the expectation is clear. If you're Kenyan and you die in Nairobi, your body goes back to the village. If you're Kenyan and you die in the UK or the US, your body comes home to Kenya. But this is important. Kenyans plan for this. Many Kenyans have repatriation insurance. Likewise, many Kenyans save specifically for funeral costs. They have explicit conversations with their families about what happens when they die. It's not taboo, it's not morbid, it's practical. Because in Kenyan culture, dying abroad and not being brought home is seen as a failure, not by the deceased, but by the family. It's a mark of shame. So they plan, they prepare, they don't assume that the community will handle it. They make sure that the community doesn't have to. When a Kenyan dies abroad without a plan, yes, the community rallies, but it's seen as an emergency, as something that shouldn't have happened. When a Jamaican dies abroad without a plan, it's almost sad to say, expected. Let's start a GoFundMe. Let's ask the community for help. And I'm not saying community support is wrong. It's beautiful. It's necessary in times of crisis. But when it becomes the default, that is a problem. When people relocate without any plan or any insurance or any conversations with their families about what happens next if they die, that's not community. That's poor planning being subsidized by goodwill. So now we're at the heart of the issue. What happens when someone from the diaspora dies abroad? And more specifically, when someone decides to relocate, like myself, from the diaspora, say to Kenya or to Thailand or to Mexico. The point that I'm trying to make is it gets even more complicated. Now, this is a part that I would like to just specifically mention for those who have relocated, who are in the diaspora or have relocated elsewhere. This is something that you might want to share with someone who you know are looking to relocate as well. So here's what I need to say, and I need to say clearly. If you're planning to relocate, whether it's Kenya, Portugal, Mexico, Thailand, anywhere, you need to have this conversation before you move. Where do you want to be buried if you pass there? How will that be paid for? Do you have insurance? Do you have savings set aside? Does your family know your wishes? These are all legitimate questions that need to be answered to someone else so that they're aware of your wishes. And if the answer to any of those questions is, I don't know, or I haven't thought about it, then you're not ready to relocate. I don't care how much you've saved. I don't care how badly you want to leave. If you haven't planned for the possibility that you might die abroad, you are setting your family up for hardship. Because when you die without a plan, someone else has to figure it out. That someone else has to pay for it. Someone else has to beg strangers on the internet to cover costs that should have been handled before you even boarded a plane. And that's not fair. I know that this sounds harsh. I know it sounds cold, but it's not. I'm saying this out of love because I care more about you making smart decisions than I care about being liked. And I have to say what I have to say. So here's what you do now. Number one, get life insurance that includes repatriation coverage, if that is your wish. It exists. Number two, have an explicit conversation with your family. Tell them what you want. Write it down. Number three, set aside a small emergency fund, specifically for end-of-life costs. And number four, if you want to be buried back at home, make sure you have a plan that makes that happen without relying on a GoFundMe. That's it. That's the work. If you do that work, your family will never have to scramble. Your community will never have to fundraise. And your wishes will be honored without becoming a burden. Death is not easy to talk about. I get it. But living in the diaspora means facing realities that people back home don't have to face. When you relocate, you take on new responsibilities. And one of those responsibilities is making sure that if the worst happens, you're not leaving chaos behind. Jamaicans and Kenyans both have beautiful traditions around death. We honor our people. We celebrate life. We ensure dignity in death. But traditions don't pay for plane tickets. Goodwill doesn't cover embalming costs. And hoping for the best isn't a plan. So if you take one thing from this video, let it be this. Plan for your death the same way you plan for your life. because where you lay your hat, that is your home. But if you want to rest somewhere specific, you better make sure you've paid the fare to get there. This is Jamaican in Kenya. If this video made you uncomfortable, good. That means that it was necessary. If it gave you clarity, even better. Drop a comment. Let me know your thoughts. And if you haven't had this conversation with your family yet, do so sooner than later. Out of many, one people. Karibu. I'll see you in the next one. Bless up.